So, Sunrise on the Reaping came out just last week, and you know that I read that as soon as possible. I'm a huge Hunger Games fan. I've reread it multiple times. I've made my boyfriend read it. I'm about to make my friend read it. I did a deep dive about the Hunger Games on my personal channel if you want to watch. I'm a big fan. By the way, my name is Hannah. This is not my channel. This is my cute little group channel with my friends. If you want to look at my channel, go over here. That's where you can find the deep dive. Anyway, I went to the midnight release party at Barnes & Noble and I got the book midnight on Tuesday when it came out. I read it really fast for me. Probably not really fast for some people. I finished it on Thursday because it was like I had a disease that only reading Sunrise on the Reaping could cure. Okay? So I feel like because I read it so fast, I wasn't as immersed as I could have been, which is okay. That's not really the book's fault, that was my fault. But I still did end up sobbing at the end. Basically, I'm here to rate the new book, give you a cute little review. This is gonna be spoiler-free. In my opinion, spoiler-free means like anything that's on the cover in like the summary or in the first like 30 pages is fair game. So, just for a warning. I'm gonna rate based on a few factors. I'm gonna rate based on writing, themes, characters, and then how it ties into the overall story. Even though I'm a big fan of the Hunger Games, my rating wasn't as high as you might expect. I'll get into why. So the writing. Sunrise on the Reaping is written in first person present tense, just like the original trilogy, and unlike Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which from now on I'm probably just gonna call Ballad, that was written in third person past tense, which I think gave like a sense of removal to the protagonist. In Sunrise, the writing is very immersive, it's gripping, it's easy to read, you know, you feel like you're there, which is how I like my YA fiction, honestly. It's very relatable writing-wise. I'm not fighting to death with a bunch of other kids. One thing I noticed about the writing is that some phrases repeated it a lot, and it did sort of sound like a marketing kind of thing. Like, I couldn't tell if it was a stylistic choice or a marketing choice, specifically the phrase, "They will not use our tears for their entertainment." It is a natural phrase with the writing, but it comes up at least 5 times, that exact phrase. And I think it might have been, I don't know, just a little bit marketing heavy. That's just what it sounds like it was written for. But that's really the only thing. The writing isn't really different from what Collins has done before with just the original trilogy. So if you like the writing in that, you're gonna like the writing in this, because it's very easy, it's fast-paced, you know, what can I say? It's the Hunger Games. And then for themes, the themes are a lot more explicit in this book than in previous books. I mean, the themes of the Hunger Games haven't been subtle ever, but in this book they're just explicitly stated. The phrase implicit submission is used several times. Oh, do you see my cat? Do you see my cat? I don't think you can really see him. Anyway, the phrase implicit submission is used a million times, which isn't a bad thing because, I mean, you can tell that Collins doesn't want to be misunderstood. You know, we're not mincing words. We're not mincing words here. The audience is going to be able to very, very easily understand what the themes are. There's really no missing it. I feel like entire pages could be ripped out of the book and you could show it to someone who has no idea what the Hunger Games is and they would understand the themes because the themes are just said. And the themes that I'm talking about include implicit submission, which, like I said, is just directly stated, and then that comes up a lot in the book, especially through Plutarch. If you've read the original trilogy, Plutarch Heavensby. And then the theme of like propaganda, that's used a lot. I really liked how they used propaganda in this book. They used it through a bunch of posters and they used it through, I'll just say, like video editing. I liked how they showed how editing video can change the public's perception of what happened very easily. Even if they already saw what originally happened, they still believe the edited version, which I thought was interesting. I don't know. I just like the themes in the Hunger Games. I think that's what Collins is writing for in the first place. And then obviously there are still themes like class division and whatever, but the main focus is definitely implicit submission and propaganda. There's even, I don't know if it's like the dedication or whatever, but the first page of the book, there are 4 quotes about propaganda and implicit submission, so there's no missing it here. Okay, and then getting into characters, the first one is Haymitch, obviously. Bro, what is he doing? My cat is messing with my backpack. The first character is Haymitch. Obviously, he's the protagonist of this book, if you don't know what Sunrise on the Reaping is about. So, Haymitch, I liked him, obviously. It was interesting and kind of sad to see him in his pre-alcoholic days. He's really kind, he's really caring. He reminds me of Katniss in a lot of ways. He has a baby brother that he's looking out for. He engages in illegal activities to provide for his family. He takes the sponsorships during the games as messages, like Katniss does. And then he's also, I don't know if you've seen the Instagram posts that are like, you know, Lucy Gray was a performer forced to fight, and Katniss was a fighter forced to perform. You know, that kind of thing. He's like that. He was a fighter that's forced to perform. He's constantly thinking about, I mean, how is this going to be perceived? That kind of thing. Haymitch just completely refuses to comply with the Capitol at most times, and I like that about him. He's very brave, verging on brashness, which I also like. And he really loves his girlfriend, which is another plus. We love a man who loves his girlfriend. It's very cute. I think that this book gives a really good insight into who Haymitch was before his games and during his games, and how that turns him into the guy that we know in the trilogy. And then there's Maisley Donner. She's another tribute from 12 in this book. She is, if Haymitch goes against the Capitol, she just like completely attacks the Capitol at any given opportunity. And I mean that literally. You'll see what I mean if you read the book. But I don't know. I love her. She's sassy. She's defiant. She's known as like the mean girl back in 12. And I don't know. I just love that about her. She'll start stuff if she sees a reason to. But she's also loyal. She's kind. She's compassionate towards some of the other tributes. Like, she's not evil or anything. She's not actually a mean girl. She's just mean if she feels like there's something that she needs to call out. She kind of reminds me of Joanna in a way, with that fighter spirit. I don't know. I really liked Maisley. I think she was a good addition to the books. And then there's Plutarch. He was interesting. He had a lot of rebellious qualities that I kind of wasn't expecting, which I guess I should have been expecting that considering who he is in the trilogy, but it's just interesting to see it from a capital citizen. I don't know. I'd like to hear more about Plutarch, and I'm glad that we got this insight into him. I feel like every time he was talking in the book, he was talking about, you know, have you guys ever thought about what if we like try to overthrow the government? You know, he's just always saying rebellious ideas, and I like that. Okay, someone I don't like is Snow, President Snow. He's still evil. You know, I still hate him. No surprise there. I feel like this is kind of a good thing to bring up Snow again, because for some reason a lot of people liked him after Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I feel like people that just watched the movie thought he seemed like a nice guy for the most part. I mean, a little bit crazy, but mostly a nice guy. And then, you know, obviously Tom Blythe is kind of a baddie, so I understand. But I feel like this book reinforces the fact that Snow is, in fact, an evil dictator. And I don't know, that was a really good thing. Because I think that people had too much sympathy for Snow after Ballad. And then there are some Covey characters that come up, which I love to see. I love the Covey. I love their little songs. I love a callback. We'll get into callbacks in a second, but for the most part, I love a callback. So that was exciting to see Covey characters. And then for how Sunrise on the Reaping fits into the main story and how it adds to the series, this is where I deducted some points. I'm not gonna lie. There were so many connections to the original trilogy and a Ballad that it felt a bit forced. There were so many callbacks, so many characters from the original came up. It just, I don't know. I feel like it was a bit weird. I don't think that many characters needed to come up. I think that In Ballad, there were definitely connections to the original trilogy. There were definitely a few characters that came up, and I think emphasis on a few, because I feel like the allusions and the connections were subtle and they were scattered, so they were more exciting when you saw it. You were like, oh my god, this is the same person, or this is, how that led to this in the original. You know what I mean? So I feel like the amount of times that something is connected to the original just kind of, it was distracting to me, and it felt forced. It felt like Collins was just saying stuff because she was like, oh, I bet I'm gonna see a reel about this or a TikTok about this, you know? I don't know. I haven't seen anyone else saying something like that except for my mom. But that's just how I feel. And then for Snow, again, this is a possible spoiler, so skip to this timestamp if you want. It's not going to be that much of a spoiler, but Snow talks to Haymitch about the Covey a little bit, and a little bit about, he's alluding to Lucy Gray. And I just feel like, yeah, it was interesting, it was cool and whatever, but it was so unrealistic and weird. Like, why would Snow be talking to some random tribute about Covey and Lucy Gray and like lamenting over it? That just felt kind of weird to me. It felt forced. Like I said, it feels like, I don't know. The connections definitely aren't bad, don't get me wrong. I love when there's a connection, but just the amount of times that an old character came up or some kind of event came up felt forced to me. I don't know. I just feel like it was a bit unrealistic, and not everything needs more background, not everything needs more detail. I think when there's a little bit of something, that gives it more value, in my opinion. So for what it did add that was positive, it added a lot of insight specifically into Haymitch and his character, and why he becomes an alcoholic and everything, and into the rebellion and how that started. I did really like that. I feel like that's really all it added that was important, besides the themes, obviously. I'm talking about how it added to the lore and to the series itself, not to themes. For example, in Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, it added a ton of new characters, interesting new characters. Not that oh my god, I feel like people are going to get mad at me. Not that anyone's going to watch this, but it added a ton of new characters. It added, I don't know, it dove into existing characters in a more insightful way. It added a bunch of songs, really good songs. It added general background and lore that was interesting. I don't know. That's the most dislike that I have for the book, which in my opinion, it's not even that bad. It just felt a little bit forced. But it's really not that big of a deal, So, all that being said, I still really like the book. Don't get me wrong. I really enjoyed the story, the themes, the emotional impact, the emotional attachment to all the characters. I definitely really liked it. Don't get me messed up, okay? I'm a big Hunger Games fan. See that poster? Where is it? Okay, you can't really see the detail, but that poster right there is my Hunger Games poster, okay? I'm a fan. I promise I'm a fan. I promise. All that being said, my rating is gonna be 4 stars. I would rate it 5. All the rest of the series is 5. But I think it just needs a little bit of time for me to mull it over and to let it settle, and for me to grow attached to all the characters and stuff for it to be bumped up. And also, the connections did take away, like, at least half a point. So, if you're not a fan and you're somehow watching this video, you should go read The Hunger Games and figure that out, because it's really good. Okay, I would recommend this book to anyone who already is a fan and has already read the other Hunger Games. You should definitely give this one a read. Okay, you can tell I really liked it. I put a little sticky note every time that I had a thought, which I don't think that much, so, that was pretty surprising. Anyway. Don't take the connections thing too seriously. That was just an observation of mine. I really loved it. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. Please go check out my deep dive, check out other videos on this channel, check out whatever you want, my personal channel, my friend Beanie's personal channel. Yeah, so thank you for watching. Bye bye.